All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this live edition of Believe in Sabres, presented by FanDuel. I'm Adam Benigni of WGRZ TV. He, of course, is Sal Maiorana of the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. Just read his piece on last night's 5-1 loss to the Montreal Canadiens to even this series at a game apiece. Good morning, Sal. I see you got your coffee going. I know you think I can't operate at this hour, but
I know.
to the contrary.
I'm very
here.
proud of you. Very proud of
I'm
you
ready-
for getting up out of bed and doing this. Look at you, got your coffee there too.
Ready to go.
You said good morning, but geez, is it really a good morning? I'm not sure. If you're a Sabres fan, this was a very good morning because that was a bad night. They were overwhelmed, I thought, in that game. And Adam, after game one, I think we spoke. And, the Sabres won the game 4-2, but I really didn't think they were better than Montreal that night. I mean, Montreal outshot them 28-16, and it's not always about shots on goal, but I thought the Canadiens, for, having just survived a brutal 7-game series against Tampa, not even getting to Buffalo until the day before the game, because they stayed in Tampa after they won in practice down there. I mean, I thought they played a pretty good game given the circumstances. And I felt a little bit leery going into game two because I knew, just like game two against Boston, there was going to be a big pushback. And wow, was there ever a pushback? 2 goals in the first 4.5 minutes, and the Sabres were chasing the game the rest of the day or rest of the night.
See, I didn't see it that way. I thought
really
watching, it's interesting, and it, I guess, speaks to your point, but in watching game one, I understand shots on goal, but I felt like the Sabres were the measurably faster team. Like, I was interested in looking at the flow of the game because, I mean, the Canadiens are obviously an entirely different team, how they're constructed, how they play the game than the Boston Bruins, right? And I saw a lot of jump, and I realized, and I tweeted this at the time, that Montreal had just played a 7-game series, had spent time down in Florida, and then we're obviously transitioning into this one. So they had some downtime, but, a series like they had against Tampa Bay obviously takes its toll. I think we saw some of that in game one, but still I felt like, okay, this is a team that is willing to try and skate with Buffalo. And I felt like after game one that the Sabres were able to get to their game more efficiently and more effectively. In other words, they didn't have to try and fight through what they had to fight through against the Bruins. This style of play, this pace was going to be more suited to Buffalo. And so I felt good coming out of game one that the Sabres were the team that had the edge in this series. I thought they were bigger, quicker, and if things held up in net, that this would be a situation where they could play that more open style and be more effective. Well, I couldn't have been more wrong about how Montreal was going to respond in game two. And the way they did it, Sal, don't you think? I mean, I think this is they really spread Buffalo out. I mean, their puck movement was vastly superior. They didn't necessarily rely on an edge in speed. It was tactics, the way St. Louis had them respond, moving the puck in the zone. Look at the goals. The first couple you mentioned. The effectiveness of the passing. I mean, the Sabres were flat-footed, out of position, irresponsible, sleepwalking at times. They got out-hustled. The best players were far. We're going to hit all of this as we go. The power play reverts back to 0 for 5, and Montreal had the edge in goal too. So, outstanding response. The Sabres are not, when everything's firing, we'll see what happens in Montreal. I mean, I feel like Buffalo can skate much better than they did last night, but it's not fair to call them the more talented team. I mean, the Canadiens answered in a very big way, and I think game two, as you look historically through whatever sport you're watching with these 7-game series, maybe baseball is a little bit different, but I remember back in the heyday of the NBA, and certainly watching hockey for a long time, game two, it doesn't necessarily going to tell you who's going to win the series, for example.
No, you're right.
But you see how teams respond. You get a really good read on the traits of each team, I think, in game 2. There are exceptions to that rule, but it's oftentimes the case, and I think it was the case in the Canadiens' 5-1 win last night.
Yeah. I mean, it was a top to bottom blowout, I thought. I mean, I thought the Sabres were, you mentioned everything that the Sabres were last night. They were flat-footed. They weren't skating. They were losing so many puck possession battles. And what was really surprising, because Buffalo has not been this team for most of the year, was the sloppiness with the puck handling. I mean, the passes, the puck bouncing over sticks, and they were missing passes. And then there were turnovers, the giveaways. The Thompson giveaway was just unbelievable. That led right to a goal. It was just the overall sloppiness that caught me by surprise more than anything else with the Sabres. Again, I expected Montreal to be better than they were in game 1, but I did not expect them to get so much help from the Sabres. It was just a terrible performance in every way for Buffalo. And once they got behind 2-0, like I said, they were chasing the rest of the night. And they were spinning the wheels like a hamster in a cage. They couldn't get anywhere. Montreal was faster, and like you said, goaltending was big in this game. I thought the first couple of goals, the first one was terrible, right? Newhook's first goal went right through. I thought he saw the shot all the way, went right through Lyon's right arm and his body. The second one, there might have been a slight screen, but that's a wrist shot from up high that I think he could have stopped that one. The third goal was, I think, Dahlin's fault because he played it terribly coming back. Yeah. But also, Lyon didn't get over to the post. I thought he was sticking with the guy carrying the puck, which you have to do. But I also thought he was late getting to the post to stop that shot. So it was just a bad night all around.
Yeah, I mean, the first one on the redirection there, that was terrific. But Newhook's cruising right through at the mouth of the crease. That's tough. I don't know about the second, sort of the seeing eye. I feel like Lyon might have been a little bit late to react to that. It's tough. I mean, you got to put yourself in his shoes and what he saw the puck, but he saw it late.
I mean, you watch the view from behind the goal. It looked like he should have been able to see it. Now we're not down there. It looked like he had a look at it though, and it just beat him up high. But it's hard to tell. We're not in his body, so I don't exactly know what his view was. But it felt like a shot that he should have stopped, and he didn't.
And then the third one, I thought that summed up the game in so many ways. I mean, you've got your captain, and that's just
bad.
That's lousy, man. That's a lack of effort and responsibility.
I don't know what he was doing.
And obviously,
because
the puck carrier is going deep. I mean, I think Darren Pang, who we had on the show a couple of days ago to preview this game on the broadcast, put it best. And I think Lundqvist in the intermission also said it. The puck carrier on that goal is going deep into the zone. It becomes obvious that he's not going to take the shot, right?
Yeah.
And to protect the short side, I mean, that the angle is decreasing, becoming far more sharp, right? So I think Lyon should have been able to anticipate that a pass was coming. And certainly Dahlin has to get to Newhook's stick there. I mean, he's with him, but he's just he's not doing anything so that the Newhook could set up shop and make that deflect. I mean, it was just a beautifully executed play by Montreal, but I thought Buffalo just rolled out the red carpet on it. And then Tage Thompson, who we have to get to here.
Well, but going back to that goal too, but I like that Dahlin owned up to it afterwards, right? Yeah. I mean, he did. He came right out and said, that was terrible by me. And it was. So that was good to see, but he needs to be better. And then you're gonna talk about the Tage play.
Yeah, I mean,
man, that just was the capper to an awful night for him.
Well, that gets into, we got to get into Thompson here, because now there's some post-game stuff with an injury that and I think a lot of us felt like he might have been playing hurt, but he essentially confirmed it after the game. On the play itself, I mean, I get his explanation that you're pressing at that point. But he's sitting out just inside the blue line, and he's literally fumbling between two decisions. He admitted it, and loses his edge and falls. I mean, this is one of the best players in the world. I was stunned to see him do that. Obviously, turns
but you know what? He's had a couple of those plays, though, where he's just lost the puck. I mean, this one was really costly, but you look at game one, there were a couple of times where he just gave the puck away, lost an edge, or it bounced off his stick. I don't know what's going on. I'm sure he probably is injured, but how much is that impacting just turnovers? I don't know. It's curious. It'd be curious to know what the injury, if there is an injury, we assume there is. What is it? I mean, people are speculating it's got to be in his hands because it seems to be affecting his ability to shoot, certainly his ability to stick handle, and he's not even really taking a lot of faceoffs. I don't know, but it's been weird to watch him play the way he did, and that was the capper, like I said, just a brutal night for him. He just looks like he's lost.
I want to welcome more. We see some more folks hopping on here. Welcome to this live edition of Believe in Sabres. Adam Benigni and Sal Maiorana with you. We invite your questions and comments at any point here. Don't have any in the chat just yet, but post one or two of them. We'll take some time to get. We're going to be on here till about 9:30, so 20 more minutes are allotted for this. A lot to get to with this game. Right now, Sal and I talking about Buffalo's many shortcomings in this 5-1 loss to the Montreal Canadiens in terms of style of play, in terms of execution, in terms of hustle, in terms of just intelligent or lack thereof hockey IQ type stuff. And the Buffalo's best players are clearly not at this point. And to win in the postseason, particularly as you advance, you need your best players to be at their best. Tage Thompson is anything but. And after the game, Paul Hamilton, a colleague of mine on Sports Talk Live Buffalo and WGR Sports Radio 550, asked him directly, "Are you playing with an injury?" And his response was, "I don't think that's any of your business." Well, that's often the case.
Confirmation.
You get upper body, lower body, shrouded type stuff in the NHL postseason. Then at the end of it, you find out everything that everyone's been playing through. That's just par for the course in terms of how these things go down. But that's essential confirmation from Tage Thompson.
Adam, we're in the media, and look, we wish they would be honest with us when we ask a question, but we also fully expect that they're going to lie, and he should have lied right there. There was no reason to give that nebulous, well, that's none of your business. He should have just said, "I'm fine. I played lousy. Let's move on." That was the proper response from an athlete's perspective. Again, from a reporter's perspective, we know that's total bullshit, and we would appreciate honesty. And he sort of gave us a little bit of half honesty, a little bit of half truth there.
Yeah.
But he made a mistake because he opened up a can of worms now with that. He should have just said, "I'm good. I was lousy. Let's get to game 3." But here we are. Now we're speculating what's wrong with Tage Thompson.
Well, and here's the other thing. I mean, he's not going to get a lot of sympathy or certainly any kind of an excuse. If you're well enough to play, guys are playing through injuries all over the lineups.
All the time.
On all these teams at this point. I think it's very interesting that the speculation about the hands. I'm not going to speculate here. But it's clearly effective.
Yeah, we don't know.
It's clearly he did some very good things without the puck in the Bruins series, I thought. Getting to the tough areas, getting to the net. In fact, in Game 6, it was on the Samuelson goal. He had himself camped right in front. For whatever he's not able to do as effectively on the ice, he did some very good things as that series went on. And again, he wound up tied with Alex Tuch with 7 points to lead the team. So he was able to be effective. Go ahead.
To that point, Adam, last night, look at the box score. He led the Sabres in hits with 6. So, I mean, he is trying to do some other things, maybe uncharacteristically. He's not going to be, the guy who should be doling out 6 hits. He should be scoring goals. But maybe that was part of why he was running around trying to hammer guys through the boards last night, because he knew he was not effective in other areas. I even tweeted at one point, I don't know if you saw my tweet. I said, Tage Thompson's out here trying to be Jordan Greenway. I wish he would just be Tage Thompson.
Yeah.
I don't need Tage going into the boards and crushing guys. I want him to be scoring goals. But to your point, what you just mentioned, he's trying to do some other things to affect the game, knowing that he can't be the player that we all know him to be. So maybe that was part of that last night. But look, Adam, they somehow, well, I shouldn't say somehow, they beat the Bruins without Tage Thompson scoring a goal in 5 straight games because they were the Bruins. I don't see the Sabres winning this series if Tage Thompson is going to be blanked much longer. Do you? I just can't see that happening.
I think they're going to go into the Hornets' nest now. That Bell Center in Montreal. I mean, look, they've been a good road team, but because of the intensity of the two atmospheres, I mean, let's face it. TD Garden for the Bruins was not what KeyBank Center was for Buffalo. And look at how that series was kind of flipped on its head with each team really playing better hockey on the road. I don't get the sense, at least based on the response we saw last night, and what the Canadiens were able to find in this matchup, a style of play that was really effective. And Lindy Ruff's going to counter. It's a chess match at this point. They've got to close down some of those lanes and not let Montreal create so much time and space, which they were just so good in doing and moving the puck, I thought, last night. But going into Montreal now with your best player not at his best, he becomes even more of a target now, right? By just that admission alone. I mean, that's why teams don't reveal it and players don't reveal it and coaches don't reveal injuries because they don't want their players targeted. Well, Tage Thompson just became more of one.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got to go up there and somehow find a way to get a split. They've got to get one of these two games.
They do.
And it's going to be very, very difficult.
It'll be difficult, but I believe the Sabres can go up there and win. Like we said at the very start of this series, this is going to be a very evenly matched series because these teams play so similar in style. I think the talent is pretty close between the teams. I mean, they each have superstars, Dahlin and Thompson for Buffalo. You've got Hudson, you've got Caulfield, Suzuki for Montreal. It's very evenly matched. Home ice should mean something, but it really hasn't so far in these playoffs. So there's no reason why Buffalo can't go up there and get a split. They won all 3 games in Boston, so you got to feel good about that. But you're right. The atmosphere is going to be tough. This is not going to be like, I think in Boston, I think we even talked about this on one of our shows that, Boston, they've won so many championships in that city. Okay, we're in the playoffs again. Big deal. There wasn't a lot expected from the Bruins this season. And even in that series, I think fans were kind of like, hey, if we win, great. That will not be the case in Montreal. Montreal, that place is a madhouse when they're one of the worst teams in the NHL, which has rarely happened, of course. But even if they're not a playoff team, that fan base is incredible. You saw the games in Tampa. I mean, I don't even know how you can think straight playing in an atmosphere like that. So it's going to be a titanic test for the Sabres to go in there and win a game, hopefully win. It's probably going to take maybe 1 or 2 wins in that place to win the series.
But to your point, Buffalo, one of the better road teams in the National Hockey League this year. And I think, especially at a time like this, it was certainly the case in Boston. And looking at the glass as being more than half full, I think it can be the case in this series where you have an absolute stinker like you had last night, right? I mean, they were worse in that game than they were in Game 2 against the Bruins, measurably.
Yeah, they were. They were.
Okay,
better
so
team.
You go on the road. I don't know.
Better team.
What's that? They're playing a better team.
They're playing a better team, too. That's part of it.
You're absolutely right. But you go into and I get the atmosphere. It'll be a test for them because the pressure ratchets up as the postseason goes on and fatigue starts to set in, injuries start to happen. I mean, again, a lot of these guys are in uncharted territory at this point. You and I had talked at great length during the Boston series about how home ice does not matter as much as it used to anymore, and it doesn't. From everything's regulation in terms of rink sizes now, crowd noise affects things to a point. But I think what this group has shown, and knowing Lindy Ruff as I do, having the opportunity now to get them out on the road, right, to make it become a singular focus. You're going between a 5-star hotel and the rink for practice. You're having meetings in these ballrooms and everything, and then you're going to the arena at a time, at the most crucial point of the season. Now they have the chance to isolate and really focus on getting back to their game. And I think there's a lot to that with teams in general. And
it worked against Boston.
And with this team in particular, based on what we've seen. So I don't have a doom and gloom attitude about them going to Montreal. It adds to the challenge, but I think it's something that they can deal with. They've shown that they can deal with that. My concerns are far more, like you said, the talent level of the team involved and tactically in terms of what they were able to execute last night and how they might be able to carry this forward in the series and play the game that way. Because they're a handful. If they're able to spread the ice like that and the Sabres aren't able to cut down on their lanes and limit their time and space, I mean, what's already a more talented team than the Bruins, I think that gives a clear edge to the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, you're right. And, you know, there's a lot of guys, Adam, right now that need to be better, right? I mean, we've talked about Tage Thompson already, clearly has to be better. But you know what? I mean, Tuck didn't play well last night, but in general, he's been pretty good so far in the playoffs. But I'll point out two guys, Adam, that they have to get their heads out of their asses and start playing better hockey. And one of them is Josh Norris, who is on the Sabres' most effective line in this postseason. But that line is effective because Doan and Benson have been tremendous.
Yeah.
I think Norris is just he's dead weight on that line. He had a couple chances last night that he failed on. He just hasn't been the player that I think the Sabres thought they were getting when they traded Dylan Cousins last year. He's been hurt a lot, which I understand, but that was part of his resume too, is he was an injury-prone player. He just has not given them the bang for the buck, especially for what he's making contract-wise. He hasn't done it in these playoffs. And the other guy is Jack Quinn. Now, look, Quinn is young. I understand that. This is, you know, Norris is a little bit older than Quinn, but he's a goal scorer, Adam, and he can't hit the broadside of a barn. He had another glorious chance last
Outstanding.
night. I mean, you can't be in a better scoring position than he was. I forget what period it was, and he just missed the net. He's been terrible. He really has been terrible. And you've got to we talk about secondary scoring, right? If Tuck, Thompson, and Dahlin aren't scoring, you got to get other guys to score. The only guy they got going in that avenue is Benson. Benson's the guy who's scoring.
Absolutely.
Get some other guys to come along here.
Quinn is such an enigma to me. I mean, he's got to get over making the extra pass. He's given up a number of glorious, golden, high percentage, grade A scoring opportunities to try to make an extra pass in these playoffs. Yep. He's got to get out of that. And then when he does get out of it, like last night, unbelievable opportunity, and he misses the net. That just simply can't happen.
It was 3-1. I think it might have been third. I could be wrong, but I felt like it was 3-1, and that would have been a goal that would have gotten him. I think I'm old. I'm old, so I forget. I should have written it down. But either way, it was a great chance that he blew it. So that's been frustrating to watch. Now Zach Benson.
Yeah, we got to get to him.
Is frustrating to watch. Holy shit, Adam! That goal that he scored. That might have been one of the greatest shifts of the entire season when you see what he did below the goal line for about 20 seconds of work before the puck ended up in the net. That was as good as it gets in the NHL. It was.
Yeah. I mean, that is below the goal line. That is grind. That is going to the dirty areas. That's everything that this kid represents at 20 years old. Doing that. I mean, how are other players not feeding off of that? I mean, I think they have at times, but I mean, thank goodness for him.
They'd be in trouble if he wasn't playing.
He is just absolutely tremendous, and that's that's an example of the type of goal that's going to make a difference for this team and get them over the top, for any team for that matter. It's not always going to be high flying and on the rush, and a lot of times it's just grind it out, get pucks to the net. I mean, they weren't even doing that last night as a team. No. Going to the dirty areas, finding ways to penetrate and get inside that Montreal sort of what all teams do, the box formation and the way they shut things down. The Canadiens were able to do it to Buffalo, and the opposite was not the case. Couple of more areas before we wrap this up here. Again, we've got just a couple of minutes left. If any of you has a comment or question, now would be the time to type it into the chat, and Sal and I'd be happy to take a moment to respond. We're off here in 5 minutes hard at 9:30, but we invite you to take part. two areas I wanted to discuss with you before we did wrap it up, Sal. And that is power play reverts back to 0 for 5. And I think a lot of what was symptomatic in the game was symptomatic for that unit too. 0 for 5 on the power play and faceoffs. I think they lost 30 of like 53 or 54 of or whatever it was in the game.
So far for the two games, they've lost 62 out of 104. I mean, it's brutal.
So they're hopefully they get Carrick back. Hopefully they get Carrick back for game 3.
Yeah.
He was close.
I mean, faceoffs, people say, faceoffs don't matter. They matter. And they mattered on Montreal's, what was it, the second goal? Matheson's
second goal.
McLeod loses the draw clean, right back to Matheson, pucks in the net. You got to win faceoffs, especially against a team like Montreal that when they have possession of the puck, they're so dangerous. Like Buffalo. Buffalo can be dangerous when it has the puck. You got to get the puck, though, and faceoffs are a big part of it. And then the power play, Adam, once again, right? So much trouble with the entries. Montreal just lines up there. Buffalo wastes 20 seconds of power play, throwing the puck backwards on their infamous drop pass. Then the guy comes right in, immediate turnover, goes back out. Start over again. It's just mad. It's maddening to watch. Dump the puck in, Adam. Dump it in and go chase it. That's the way to establish your power play. For me, you've got speed like Buffalo. If you can get it in deep. Now, granted, Montreal's got speed too, but you got one extra player when you're on the power play. So use your speed, match their speed, go get the puck and get set up. And they just continue. This guy brings it in, tries to stick handle through 3 guys on a picket fence at the blue line, and they're losing it almost all the time. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. We've talked about it over and over. I know Lindy Ruff has talked about it. Nothing is changing, though.
Well, I mean, I get why they do that, right? But again, it's one guy with speed, and for everybody to stay on side, you don't have the opportunity to get set up before you. I mean, if you do it in a more sort of organic way, right, and just sort of through the flow of the play, get the puck in deep and go for it. The Canadians are allowed to set up. Everyone knows Buffalo's going to do it. Everyone knows they're going to drop the puck back and come up and try and penetrate with one guy with speed and get things set up. And if you just knock them off the puck or whatever, you have an opportunity to blow the whole thing up and peel 30 or 40 seconds off the penalty kill at that point. Do it more organically with the flow of the play. Get it deep, work, use your speed advantage, use the fact that you have the extra man, and do it in a way where Montreal can't necessarily set up and be less predictable about it. I mean, I guess, they're going to play the 4-man box or whatever. That's what teams do on the penalty kill, and it can be largely effective, but not as effective as knowing exactly what the other team's going to try and execute time and time again. I mean, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again when it doesn't. That's what it feels like when I'm watching that unit.
Doing what Buffalo's doing on the power play. That's the definition of insanity. It really is crazy. They've got to change something. Let's hope it happens in these next 2 games, because if they come home down 3-1, Adam, you're not feeling good about this series. They're going to have to go in and get that sweep. It'll be fun to watch tomorrow night, Sunday night, and then we'll be back here Monday morning, hopefully talking about some happier topics, because this was a bad performance by Buffalo, and they've got to get over it and move on.
5-1 victory for the Montreal Canadiens. Series tied at 1. Game 3 coming up on Sunday in Montreal. FanDuel, presenting sponsor for this show and others on the Believe Network, had this basically as a pick'em series. It remains that way. Slight edge to the Montreal Canadiens in 7 games. That's how they see it. If the Sabres don't straighten their game out, Sal, it ain't going to get to 7, quite frankly, the way Buffalo played in game 2. One comment before we wrap it up. Matthew Bardot, Habs looked like a contender team. They certainly did last night.
They sure do. They sure do. Hey, we forget, Adam, they scored 106 points this year. This is no slouch of a team. This is a 106-point team that Buffalo's playing. So, they're definitely a contending team.
All right, so thanks very much for being...
You know what's crazy? And the last point, what's crazy? Their top line still has done nothing. Their top line, Caulfield, Slafkovsky, they've done nothing. Well, Suzuki did score the other night, but still, Sabres they've got to do something. If they're going to lose games when that top line is giving Montreal nothing, that's also a big problem.
Yeah, I mean, you see the talent, certainly, and they've generated a fair amount in terms of opportunities, but haven't connected on the number you necessarily would have expected them to, and that's a scary thought as far as the Buffalo Sabres are concerned. Again, series tied at 1. Game 3 Sunday in Montreal. We'll be back Monday, potentially with a very good guest. I don't want to reveal it right now. I don't mean to keep it shrouded like it's an injury in the postseason, but until everything falls into place. A couple of more comments here. We can stay on for a couple of more seconds, but I've got to get off of this thing. So,
yep, I get
it. There's a comment here about Greenway's reaction. Very soft and uncompetitive. Benson is the Gallagher of the say. Look, among the battles or among the areas the Sabres lost last night, the toughness factor. Benson aside, Benson's been that guy for them. They've got to be, as a team, tougher on the puck, harder, more physical. I mean, they literally rolled out a red carpet for the Canadiens in far too many areas last night.
Yeah. I don't know what I don't know where he's talking about at the end. Did I miss something at the end of the game that Greenway didn't react to? I'm missing that.
There was a slash thing
tuned out by.
There was well, I mean, you got to be careful how you react. He was slashed a number of times, and then I remember that sequence.
Well, he crushed. I think it was Dimidov, right? Just absolutely laid him out. Greenway did earlier in the game. Maybe that was a response to that. I don't know, but I didn't see what he's actually talking about. And then the Benson is the Gallagher of the Sabres. Yeah, we wish, right? Brendan Gallagher's been one of the best players for 14 years. He's not really playing. I don't think he's played this series because he's kind of older now. But if Zach Benson can be Brendan Gallagher over the next 14 years, yeah, I think the Sabres will sign up for that in a heartbeat.
All right, so this has been Believe in Sabres Live Edition. Thanks for being with us on the Saturday morning live here on YouTube. We come your way after every game. Believe in Sabres and Believe in Bills, obviously. Year-round coverage here on the Believe Network. So for Sal Maiorana, I am Adam Benigni. Thanks for being with us here. Believe in Sabres, presented by FanDuel.